Midnights is my favorite era. Leave in the comments below what your favorite era is, and it's okay if you have more than one, but I want to know what your favorite eras are. I know this is a little bit different than my usual video, but it's still bookish. We're going to be talking about what book you should read, or what book I think you'll like based off your favorite Taylor Swift era. We're going to start straight off with debut. When I think of debut, I think of high school love, I think of innocence, I think of first love, that kind of vibe. Taylor Swift's debut album is your favorite, you should read Better Than the Movies. If your favorite album is Fearless, I will preface this with Fearless is probably the album I listen to the least. There are some really good songs on there that I really love, but I don't gravitate towards that because I've never been a big country music person, and those songs kind of have a little bit of a country vibe to me. But I will say, everyone knows the most iconic song on that playlist, except for maybe Fearless, is Love Story. So therefore, I'm going to give you my favorite Romeo and Juliet retelling that I have ever read, which is 1,000 Heartbeats. Now, if your favorite is Speak Now, what if I told you that there was a song, quite literally, inspired by the song Speak Now by Taylor Swift, and that is Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. Now, I personally did not absolutely love this book, but that's just because I didn't exactly love the romance. It was a little too immature for my liking. But I'm finding that I'm very alone in that opinion, and a lot of people really like the book, I guess. So if you want to read a book about two people who it's literally their job to object at weddings and speak now or forever hold their peace, then this is the book for you. Next is Red, and for Red, I put Caraval. This one just has a whirlwind of complex emotions, and it's also just very magical, and something about it just feels fall. Even though it's not outrightly like a fall-themed thing, it feels very fall. Then for 1989, I had to look extra hard for this one, and in doing so, I accidentally found 3 book recommendations for 1989. First, because of the song Wonderland, I just had to include Alice in Wonderland, of course. But we also have Beach Read for the more beachy side of things. And I've also included The Summer of Broken Rules. I especially really like this one. Unfortunately, I have not read a lot of books with like New York City vibes, so I can't recommend anything like that, but I got the beachy vibe part down. Next is Reputation. There's an option that I think some people are gonna think that I'm gonna go for, but I'm not. I'm gonna surprise you, and I'm gonna bring up that book series later. One of the first books that comes to mind when I thought of Reputation was Crescent City. If you read the book, you totally get it. That female main character, quite literally, I feel like the entire Reputation album is the soundtrack for her life. If you want those really fun, edgy vibes that you get from Reputation, of course you could just read Fourth Wing as well. Now for Lover. This is probably the first book title I wrote down when I thought up this idea, but that is the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. If you love Lover, why have you not read this yet? Then, of course, if you want to go a less fantasy route and you haven't already read this book, and I don't care who judges me for this, I think this series should have been bigger than it was, and that is the Selection series. It's quite literally The Bachelor, but The Bachelor is a prince. Now we're gonna jump over to Evermore. Now, how I split up Evermore and Folklore, basically I think they're both nostalgic, but one of them is nostalgia in light academia and the other one is nostalgia in dark academia. So for Evermore, I'm highly gonna recommend The Spell Shop. This book is quite literally all vibes. No plot whatsoever. It's very random, but all vibes. Then, if you're okay reading something very YA, but it has like those fun light academia witchy vibes in a boarding school for girls, you should read A Great and Terrible Beauty. But if you want to go to the dark academia side of nostalgia with Folklore, then I think you should read the Belladonna trilogy. Kind of as a side note, and I'm not exactly sure why, but I so badly wanted to suggest Little Women with Folklore as well. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, whenever I think of the Folklore album, I think of Little Women. I probably just seen way too many Little Women edits to Folklore songs, realistically. Now let's jump over to my personal favorite album, Midnights. And there's only one correct answer for what book series you should read if you love Midnight's album. What did you expect? If you love Taylor Swift Midnight's album and you have not yet read ACOTAR, please pause this video, stop what you're doing, read all 5 books, and then come back and hit play. You need to read ACOTAR. You don't get an award for not reading ACOTAR, just do it. Then last but not least, we have the Tortured Poets department. And who else is Little Miss I Can Do It With a Broken Heart and Little Miss Who's Afraid of Little Old Me more than Aelin, Ash River, Galathinius. Especially like all the complexities that go into Tortured Poets Department and how it quite literally has so many Easter eggs to other songs and other albums, and how it's this beautiful literary conglomeration of pain and healing and all of those beautiful messed up things. You should read Throne of Glass. You really, I think it's a need at this point. Well, that's really all I had planned. So if you have any other bookish suggestions based off the different eras, whether they give off the same vibe or the same aesthetic, definitely leave those in the comments below. Especially if you can think of any other books that give Midnight's vibes, I am totally down to check those out. But in the meantime, you should check out my Mass Verse playlist and subscribe to be notified whenever I post a new video.